Hello and welcome back to another video, everyone. My name is Eric Marks with FindingMiddle-earth.com, and today I'm going to do another Q&A video. So I released my first Q&A video, I guess about maybe 4 or 5 days now, and as soon as I released it, I got a lot more questions started pouring in because now I'm doing videos to answer the questions. So I'm glad you guys are giving me your questions to answer now in the video, because it's just much easier this way. I can pick kind of a bulk of questions and get them answered like this, instead of have to look through every single one on email and make sure that everyone gets their correct response. This is much easier, so let's keep this up. I love this way of doing things. I hope you guys like this way as well, because hopefully you get a more detailed answer, and maybe your question will help other people as well. So let's go ahead and get into it. I have it, all the questions that I picked pulled up here on my computer, and I saved a longer one for the end. It was one that came in today, and actually 2 of them came in today on my YouTube channel. So we'll save those for the end, and we'll start with this one. So first question says, what is the best lens for real estate photography? So I shoot a lot of real estate photography, but I have friends that do nothing but real estate photography, like full-time, serious, that's their career. And they would probably tell you, if you shoot Canon, to shoot with the either the 24mm tilt shift prime lens by Canon, or to shoot with Canon's new 11-24 wide-angle zoom lens. That's the ultra-wide. So both of those would be good options. If you're a Nikon shooter, I would say to go with the Tamron 15-30. I know it's kind of crazy that I'm recommending a Tamron lens, but that lens is just absolutely stellar for real estate and architecture. And if you don't want to go with the Tamron 15-30, then there is the Nikon 14-24, which is a good option. But I personally think the 15-30 Tamron is sharper than that one. And then also Nikon makes a 24mm tilt shift prime. However, I've heard amongst my real estate photographer friends that the cream of the crop lens for real estate photography, both for Canon or Nikon, is the Zeiss Distagon 15mm prime. It's a 15mm 2.8 Zeiss lens that you can buy for Nikon or Canon mount, and one of my friends uses that. It's like a $3,000 lens just for his real estate photography, but it's just insanely sharp. There's no distortion whatsoever, and it's just unbelievable. So because of him, actually, I'm personally thinking about getting the Zeiss 21mm Distagon for my landscape photography. I've rented that lens before, and it blows me away. I mean, it's the quality of the glass is unbelievable. So there's your options. I would go with one of those lenses in there. Because real estate photography, your focus is ultra wide, but still keeping quality and less distortion. You want to have as little distortion as possible when you're shooting real estate. So, okay, let's go with the next question here. What do we have? Do you use light? I'm sorry. Do you use artificial light for outdoor portraits? Yes, I do. I do use artificial light for outdoor portraits. Not always, but when I do, I use the Dorama Flashpoint speed lights. I have a few of these that I'll set up, and they come with the Flashpoint triggers. Now this is the R1 unit. You can also shoot with the R2 units, and the R2 units have built-in high-speed sync. So you might want to go with that for outdoors, which would be killer. There's very few videos online about this. I have one on my channel, so if you want to know how they work, go and check that video out. These actually are really impressive little flashes. So this is the Dorama Flashpoint for the Nikon hot shoe. And this will do high-speed sync as well, but it only does it if you buy an extra trigger, which it's very inexpensive. But the new Flashpoint R2 system has it built into the flash units itself. Okay, so yes, I use artificial light sometimes, and when I do, I use those speed lights mainly. Sometimes I'll take, like a studio strobe out there with a bigger umbrella, but very rarely. That's only if I'm trying to get like a very specific kind of dramatic portrait for an advertisement or something like that. Okay, next question. And this is one of them that came in today. So what is the best time of day to shoot architecture photos? And there's kind of a second bit of that question down here because that person commented on my YouTube channel today. I think her name is Meg. And she commented today and said, what's the best time to shoot architecture photos? I responded and I told her that typically sunrise and sunset are always the best time to shoot generally anything, but it also depends on what way the building or house is facing, right? If it's facing direct west, direct east, if you know where you can shoot from, right? Is it a building that maybe you can only shoot in the city where you're being blocked by other buildings and there's no light getting to it? So it's really based on where the light is going to be hitting it at what time of day. So that's what I would do is research. There's a couple of apps that'll do this for you. My favorite smartphone app is called Photo Pills, and it will tell you exactly where the light is going to be, like what direction the sun is going to be at each moment of the day, and you can just have it geotag whatever the building or house you're shooting is, and it will tell you exactly where the sun's going to be. But if you're dealing with, like if it's like a city building and you're dealing with other buildings like in front of it that are blocking the light, then sometimes you just have to do a sky replacement. And I never do sky replacements for my personal work, but sometimes if you're doing commercial work and you're shooting a building for a company, they want a pretty pink, purple sunset behind it. Sometimes you have to do that. So it's really, subjective because, like I said, general rule, sunset, sunrise, you get the best light, but it really depends on where the light is hitting that building or that house at the proper time of day. Is it hitting, the back of the house, the side of the house? Is the sun smacking it right in the front and it's just burning out all the highlights? You have to think about all those things. So I would just do research. I'd say it really depends on the property. So do your research on one of those apps, Photo Pills, the Photographer's Ephemeris, something like that, and research where the light is going to be hitting at the time of day that you're wanting to shoot the piece of property. Okay, next question. Is Adorama a good print lab to use? Yes, I assume you mean personally, like for personal prints, like if you wanted to order something that you shot. Yeah, I've used Adorama quite a few times for that, for just, something that I shot just to order a personal print. If it's good, if you're asking me if it's good for like you selling your prints, I would say no, because then you would have to order it through Adorama and then have it shipped to your client or shipped to your house, and you'd have to reship it. Adorama doesn't offer like a business print sales type thing where they set up like an online portal for you and your customers can come and view it. For something like that, I would view SmugMug or other sites like that out there, Fine Art America, Zenfolio, something like that. But if you're just talking about personal print use, yes, Adorama is great. They have really good print labs. They seem to be very careful and they do a very good process as far as their with their color, and they make sure they take advantage of the Adobe RGB color profiles, obviously, because Adorama is a camera store. So yeah, it's definitely good. However, if you have like a local print lab, that's typically the best to get in with. Just go in there and introduce yourself, make friends with them, because local print labs typically put in that like extra bit of work and care and love and passion into the prints, and that's what you really want. So yes, Adorama is a good print lab for personal work. So next question. Where do you buy your photo gear? I've bought my photo gear just about everywhere. I've shopped at Adorama, I've shopped at B&H Photo, I've shopped at Used Photo Pro online. I typically don't buy used stuff. I buy almost all my stuff new just because you never know what's been done with it. You don't know if someone I don't know, dropped it in a pond and then decided to sell it before it breaks or something. You just never know. So I buy most of my stuff just typically at B&H Photo online, but I don't really prefer one over the other. It really just depends on who's having the best deal at the time, because sometimes one of the stores will do like free shipping, free 2-day shipping, free expedited shipping, or they'll do like $100 off or something. So it just really depends. But Adorama and B&H are one of the most popular, so either one of those will be fine. Next question. I have been dying to know, how do you prep your photos for print? That is a very good question, because as you guys know, I do a lot of printing. It's kind of a tough explanation, and I will be making a video on it soon. So how about I give you a rain check on that one? The only reason I added it in here is because whoever asked that, I want you to know that I will be doing a video on that soon, but I will tell you just kind of a brief process on what I do. So you typically have to make each photo a little sharper, a little brighter, and a little more vibrant than you normally would if you were to just post it online. Because when the photo goes to print and it hits paper or it hits ink or it gets laser printed or whatever process, it typically loses a little bit of vibrance in the color, it loses a little bit of sharpness, and it loses a little bit of brightness. So I typically always make it just a touch brighter, maybe 20-30% brighter, 20-30% sharper, and about 10 to 20% more vibrant with the color. But you want to be careful with the color because you don't want it to go too far or there to be any kind of banding issues when you print. But I'll kind of explain exactly how I do that, like the process in Photoshop, in another video. But yeah, that's basically it. It's not some really hard process, and everyone does it differently too. So I say that for my photos, it works really well, but someone else might do it completely different. But just general rule is it typically gets a little less colorful, a little less sharp, and a little less bright when it gets printed. So you want to kind of compensate for that before you shoot it off to your print lab. Next question. How do you manage your photos when you are on vacation or traveling? I'm assuming you asked me this question because I was just on vacation. And when I was on vacation, I shot like 5,000 photos while I was there for a week. So I take my MacBook Pro right here with me, of course, when I'm traveling or anytime I'm away from my office. And then I have 2 hard drives. I have 2 of these lacy rugged drives. They're each 1 terabyte, and I keep them mirrored. So they have the exact same content on them at all times. So I go out and shoot with my camera all day. I come back, I put the cards in my computer, and I dump all the files that I shot that day on this drive, and then I dump them all on this drive. And I put them in a folder that just names, what I did that day. So for example, if I went on like there was one of the days on vacation, I went to a private island and I shot some dolphins for the day. So I named that like Private Island Dolphins Photos. And I don't really have to worry about naming the date because Lightroom does all of that for me when I get back in my office here. So anyway, that's how I handle the files. I just mirror them on these drives because I always want them in 2 separate places, because if this drive decides to fail or something happens to it, I have it in another place. And I also keep these in separate suitcases. Why do I do that? Because if one suitcase gets lost, or if one suitcase, gets, who knows, something gets dropped on it, or if it gets wet, then that way everything isn't in one place. I have 2 separate places so that my photos are protected. So anyway, put them on there, and then I also create a specific Lightroom catalog every single time I go on a trip or vacation just for that trip. So for example, I created a Panama City Beach 2016 catalog in Lightroom on my laptop, and then when I got back home, I reintegrated that catalog into my mothership catalog with all my servers over there behind me. So that's just kind of a basic process on how I do that, but again, that'll probably be another really good video to make in the future. So yep, I love these lacy drives. They're called lacy rugged drives for a reason. They're really, you can throw them around and toss them in bags and they're not going to go out and break on you. So okay, 2 more questions left. So the longer one here, this is another one I think that Meg from YouTube left for me today. And I'm just going to read exactly what the comment says. It says, suggestion, in your next Q&A, could you go over how to shoot during the daytime? Normally, I'm not able to shoot during sunrise or sunset. I'm normally able to shoot sometime during the day. Also, I like shooting at public places, and those places aren't always open at ideal times. But my images don't look as good when I take them during the day. I normally shoot architecture, cityscape, landscapes, and macro. Could you go over how to make the images look better? What equipment would I need? I will also want to be able to take good images while I am shooting in the day. Okay, I don't really like spending a lot of time in Photoshop because that means less time shooting. Okay, so sorry if that was I know that's kind of a long question there, but I wanted to read it word for word so that I make sure I answered it correctly. So let's try to answer this all in kind of one answer. So you can't, it sounds like you can't really shoot in sunset or sunrise, and you can only shoot in the daytime and your photos don't look good. How do you make them look good? It's kind of a tough question because if the light isn't good, typically the photos aren't going to be good. I would say, I mean, if you're just talking about photography in general, so let me tell you what I do. So like if I'm just feeling creative and I want to go out and shoot, and it's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon and the sun is at its worst, what I typically do is I'll take my macro lens. This is a Nikon 100mm prime. It's a 2.8 macro lens, and I'll just take this out and I'll try to focus on details for the day. Because if I do big wide landscape vista shots, the light's going to be terrible. There's going to be nothing interesting. There's going to be way too much contrast and shadow, and nothing's going to pop, and it's just, you know, I already know it's going to be an image that I come back home and I'm not going to like. So I focus on details when that happens. I take this and I look for foliage, flowers, insects, wildlife, anything like that that shoots during the day. So that would be my biggest suggestion is, if you can only shoot during the day, go over in your mind, you know, what looks good during the day, right? You can shoot wildlife during the day, you can shoot flowers during the day, and here's a kind of a tip for that. So I have this little fold out reflector, or you can really use anything to just kind of cast a little bit of shade over whatever you're shooting. So if you're shooting macro, let's say you're shooting a flower or something in the middle of the day, well, that sun is going to be just so harsh, just hitting that flower and casting all kind of nasty shadows on it. So what you want to do is take anything, really, your hat or whatever, and just cast a shadow to where the subject that you're shooting is completely in shadow, to where it's even lighting, and then set your camera up on a tripod or hold it in your hand or whatever, and take a shot of whatever your, you know, flower, insect, whatever, of the subject, and that way you have even lighting. So I always do that. I'll take a little tiny fold-out reflector with me, and to where the backside is just kind of a white see-through surface, almost like a softbox, and I'll just hold it in front of the sun. That way it blocks the sun from hitting directly, and it just kind of shades it and kind of spreads it into this nice even light. It's almost like putting a softbox over the sun. So that's what I would recommend for that. A lot of macro work is what I do if I'm going to shoot in the middle of the day. Let me see your next question. So you're asking what equipment would you need? I mean, I would say a good macro lens, since you said you shoot macro. A good macro lens for whatever, I think you shoot Fuji, I think is what you were saying, is what you've told me before. But yeah, if you shoot Fuji, Fuji has a killer macro lens, but just make sure you get an actual macro lens so that you can get some really, really nice results out of your daytime shots. As far as landscape and architecture, I'm not saying you can't take good shots in the middle of the day, but you know, just again, maybe try a really unique angle that will make your shot stand out. Maybe, I don't know, try bracketing so you can even out the exposure with HDR, but don't just try to make it work. If you can't make it an outstanding image, then I wouldn't try to do anything professional, you know, while you're there. Professional work comes with the best light, and people realize that. Clients know when a photographer knows what they're doing, because it's all about that golden light hitting the subject at the exact right time. So architecture and real estate, which is what you said you shoot, as well as landscapes, that's like all about the light. Very little about artificial lighting. Natural light has everything to do with those genres of photography. So I would say in the daytime, shoot a lot of macro, which is cool anyway. Macro is fun. It kind of gets your creative juices flowing. And then for landscape and architecture, just do all that you can to try to make a cool composition out of it. But you know, don't push it. Don't try to make an ugly photo good just so you can get a photo out of it. So I believe that's it on that. Let me check the last question here. It was okay. So this person on YouTube 5 hours ago commented, a lady named Gina Heaton. She says, "Can you tell me how to check my photos at 100% in Lightroom? Fotolia told me to do that, and it's a little confusing." I'm guessing Fotolia is another YouTuber. I'm not sure. She says, "I figured out my pixels on my computer and told Photoshop how many pixels per square inch my monitor had, but now I'm lost as to how to view my photos at 100%. I'm betting it's easy, and I've read too much about it, but the internet doesn't really give much of a straightforward answer. Or else I'm not Googling the subject the correct way. Could you help me, please?" Yes, Gina, I will absolutely help you. So let me shoot us over to the computer here so we can jump into Lightroom, and I'll just show you. So this is just a picture of my 6-month-old daughter that I took on vacation. She's chilling at the beach here. And it's as simple as this, okay? I I don't know what Fotolia was trying to make you do. It sounds like she was trying to make you go through some kind of insane like mathematic equation to make herself seem cool. Or I guess I said herself or himself. I'm not sure what. Fotolia sounds like a girl YouTuber, doesn't it? Regardless, if Fotolia is a YouTuber, I promise it's much easier than what she was trying to tell you. You don't have to type anything into Photoshop and let it scan your monitor. It's as simple as this. So we're in Lightroom right now, okay? You go up to the top left here where it says Navigator, and there's these words, fit, fill, 1:1. 1:1, if you hover your mouse over it, look what it says, zoom photo to 100%. So you just click 1:1, and there you go. My photo is at 100%. And if you don't even want to click the 1:1 button, you can just click anywhere with this magnifying glass. You can click on the other eye and just do a left mouse click, and it'll zoom you right in. And if you want to go even further, you can click these little arrows, this up and down arrow here, click, and you can view it at different aspect ratios. So like you can do a 2:1 and go even further, like a 200% view. And you can check extreme sharpness, or you can check for focus, or if you're cloning something out of the shot. And then you can go back to a 100% if you want to. But yep, it is as easy as that. Oh, my startup disk is almost full. I need to take care of that. Yes, so anyway, that's it's as simple as that. There's no mathematic equation you have to do in Photoshop. It's just click the 1:1 or just left mouse click with your magnifying glass there in Lightroom, and it'll shoot you right into 100%. So I hope you guys enjoyed this second Q&A video here. In the last Q&A video, I didn't tell you guys where to go if you want to submit other questions. You can submit them in the comment thread below here, but the easiest way, just to email me, which is eric@findingmiddleearth.com. Shoot me an email there and just put the subject line Q&A, and then I'll read whatever question you shoot me through email, and I'll put it in the next Q&A video. So thank you guys so much for watching another video, and I will see you in the next one. If you would like to stay up to date on all of my latest photography videos and adventures, click the big subscribe button below. And if you would like to find out more about me and how to become a great photographer, visit my website at findingmiddleearth.com.